I want to talk about miracles. Have you ever seen or witnessed a miracle? I haven't, but I know many people who have. They believe firmly that they have experienced a miracle in their lives, or they have been present and seen a healing, some kind of event that they would describe honestly as miraculous. There is no way this otherwise could have happened. They don't just mean it was an unlikely event, they mean it was a supernatural event. Now, the question I want to explore is whether miracles are invalidated, are made impossible by the fact that we live in a world that is determined, and I'm using that term also in its philosophical sense, determined by physical, scientific laws. Now, the most famous argument against miracles was given by the philosopher David Hume, and I'll come to that in a minute, because Hume is kind of the guru of today's kind of new atheists, the atheist camp, represented by people like Hitchens and Richard Dawkins. Here's Richard Dawkins talking about miracles. And Richard Dawkins is responding to biologist Stephen Jay Gould. By the way, Stephen Jay Gould had tried to make a sort of rapprochement, a healing between the scientific and the religious communities by saying, listen, the scientific and the religious communities are doing two different things. The scientific community pursues facts, and the religious community pursues values. And since facts and values belong to sort of two conceptually different camps, you can allow each group to kind of do its own thing. There's no reason they should be clashing or fighting with each other. This is the theme of Stephen Jay Gould's book called Rocks of Ages. Now, Dawkins, I think very slyly notices that this doesn't really work. And Dawkins says, well, what about miracles? He goes, miracles are actually a claim, not just about values, you should be honest and truthful. Miracles are claims that some event occurred. This dead guy came back to life. This person with cancer was miraculously cured. And so, says Dawkins, there is now an overlap because somebody is claiming that this was done miraculously or supernaturally, and science, he says, shows that that cannot happen. Why? Because, says Dawkins, quote, science is based upon verifiable evidence. And miracles, according to him, are violations of the incorrigible, unalterable laws of science. Now, let's turn from Dawkins to someone who makes this argument in a more formal and sophisticated way, and that is the philosopher David Hume. I'm now going to sort of outline Hume's argument, and then I'm going to outline my refutation of it. Here's Hume's argument in 4 parts. Number 1, a miracle is a violation of the known laws of nature. Number 2, we know these laws through repeated and constant experience. Number 3, the testimony of those who report a miracle or claim to have seen a miracle contradicts the operation of known scientific laws. Therefore, number 4, no one can rationally believe in miracles. Basically, what Hume is saying is that someone says there's a miracle, even if they're a believable guy, not, habitually given to lying, you have to weigh the credibility of their testimony against the fact that we have literally millions upon millions of experiences that say the opposite. So a guy goes, I miraculously saw a guy with 3 eyes. You go, wait a minute. We've seen millions and millions of people all over the world, and everybody has 2 eyes. So are we going to believe this guy who says that he saw a man with 3 eyes? Or are we going to believe the accumulated weight of human experience as consolidated in the form of scientific laws that say that Homo sapiens, human beings, are born with 2 eyes? So this appears to be a kind of devastating argument against miracles, so devastating that many Christians have sort of cowered from it and run for cover. Here's the theologian Rudolf Bultmann now writing about a generation ago in the early 1960s. Bultmann goes, well, it is impossible to use electric lights and the wireless and to avail ourselves of modern medical and surgical discoveries and at the same time to believe in the New Testament world of spirits and miracles. So Bultmann is willing to give them up and basically say, well, maybe we should subtract miracles from Christianity. But I think we all know that you can't do that. Why? Because Christianity of all religions is actually dependent on miracles. It's the religion that relies the most on miracles, even more than Judaism. By the way, there are miracles in the Old Testament, but if you remove the miracles, the Old Testament would largely remain the same. The Jewish religion, Jewish faith, is not critically dependent on miracles, but Christianity is. Why? Because Christianity rises or falls on the resurrection, a miracle, a supernatural event. A man who was put to death by the Romans rose again. And of course, Jesus, as we know, performed a whole bunch of miracles. He brought the sick to life, and he made people who were lame walk, and he cured leprosy, and he did all this stuff. Even Islam, compared to Christianity, hardly depends on miracles. I believe in the Quran at some place Muhammad is associated with a single miracle, but just one. Again, if you remove the miracle, Islam remains largely the same. So let's now come back to David Hume's argument, because it seems so unassailable, and I want to just outline my refutation of it, which I will develop in the next segment. Here's my refutation. A miracle is a violation of the known laws of nature. This, my first point, repeats David Hume's first point. The second point. Scientific laws are, on Hume's own account, empirically unverifiable. What I'm saying here is critical. What I'm saying is that Hume forgot to read his own book. Hume's argument against miracles, by the way, is contained in a book called An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding. But in another book by Hume called A Treatise on Human Nature, Hume himself explains why no scientific law is empirically verifiable, and claims that, in fact, science has laws are themselves absurd. Now, it's important to distinguish here between two types of laws. I would call them mathematical laws on the one hand and empirical laws on the other. No one denies that mathematical laws operate by necessity. So 2 + 2 = 4. That will always be true. That is true by necessity. Pythagoras' theorem, that if you add the square in a right triangle, if you add the squares of the two sides, it equals the square of the long side. That's the Pythagorean theorem. It's always true. It's true by necessity. But let's take a different kind of empirical law. Light travels at a known speed, or E = mc², or Newton's square law. I'm going to show in the next segment that those laws, empirical laws, are not empirically verifiable. So here we go. Scientific laws are, on Hume's own account, empirically unverifiable. Thus, violations of the known laws of nature are possible. If these laws are unverifiable, obviously there could be exceptions to those laws, and therefore miracles are possible. The bottom line of it is there are some people who think that miracles are like old-fashioned. This is, people in the old days used to believe all kinds of stupid stuff. But as C.S. Lewis himself points out in a book called Miracles, Lewis says, hey, listen, don't think that ancient people were all that stupid. Ancient people knew that dead people don't come back to life. Ancient people knew how babies were made. They didn't think that, for example, you could be born of a virgin. So when these things happen in the ancient world, don't think the ancient people go, well, it could be the case. No, they knew that this was a scandalous departure from the normal patterns of nature. A miracle is a very irregular event. Even believers affirm that there is a pattern in nature, but there can be exceptions to it if God wills that there should be. That's the definition of a miracle, and as I'm about to show, such miracles are in no way inconsistent with any known laws of nature.